The 14th Amendment is important for three different reasons. One relates to civil liberties. This is kind of a review. And then two relate to the civil rights aspects. So the first clause that we're going to look at is the review of what we previously talked about. The due process clause found within the 14th Amendment, which is boxed in red, is the part of the 14th Amendment that incorporates the Bill of Rights. Remember, this means that the wording of this amendment now requires the state governments to also provide these protections to citizens previously that only the national government had to. So the due process clause is part of the 14th Amendment that protects civil liberties. Other parts of the 14th Amendment would include the first part. So this is known as the naturalization clause. One of the significant things about the 14th Amendment is that it grants citizenship to former slaves. We talked about the 13th Amendment, rightfully abolishing the institution of slavery. The 14th Amendment now officially grants citizenship status to all of those former slaves, right? And then the last little bit of the 14th Amendment is immensely impactful, and we've talked about this already too. This is the Equal Protection Clause. This basically says that people can't be denied equal protection of the law. So you can't be treated differently because of your race, your gender, disability, those types of things. And the Equal Protection Clause is really like the basis for almost all discrimination lawsuits in this country. So that's significant for the 14th Amendment for like three different reasons. The first part for civil liberties and the other parts for like civil rights. We talked about the muted impact of the 13th Amendment, and there is a muted impact of the 14th Amendment as well. So the immediate aftermath of the Civil War is referred to as Reconstruction. This is a time period in which Union troops from the North, occupy most of the South and basically are forcing Southern states to return back into the Union, but also they're able to monitor the way in which they're treating former slaves, right? Southerners very much resented the presence of Union troops that were occupying the South after the Civil War's conclusion. But these troops were necessary to, again, make sure that the Southerners were not going to secede again, but also to try and enforce elements of the 14th Amendment that would benefit former slaves. This changes a bit in 1876. Reconstruction is still going on. There's a disputed election between the Republican candidate, Rutherford B. Hayes, and the Democratic candidate, Samuel Tilden. The election is super, super close, and there are disputed election returns in each of the four states that are starred on the map. Each party, the Republicans and Democrats, are alleging fraud in those states and are alleging that they have won the presidential election. There is a compromise that is made between Republicans and Democrats. Remember, at the time, the Republicans are the party of Lincoln. They're the party of abolition. They're the party of civil rights. The 1877 Compromise makes a deal between congressional Republicans and Southern Democrats. The Democrats will allow Rutherford B. Hayes to be named the winner of the 1876 election, and in exchange, all of the troops will be removed from Southern states, thus ending Reconstruction long before the country has been rebuilt and long before we can ensure African Americans are being treated equally by Southern governments. So unfortunately, the 1877 Compromise has a very limiting impact on the initial gains awarded by the 14th Amendment.